welcome to this next video in the National 5 and Higher PE series. Today we're just going to go over the content that we learned today. Again, this is just so that you can recap this in your own time. Creating the video means you can pause it, rewind it, fast forward it, watch it as many times as you want. As well, there were a couple of people that were off today, so this means that you can catch up as well. So, the date is currently the 24th of August 2020. Just flipping round to the back, this is a recap from the previous video where we looked at the cycle of analysis in PE. Effectively, the cycle of analysis is just how we improve. And you kind of use this for any skill that you learn in life, not just in PE. So for example, if you're learning to drive, you would do a program of development and then you would test it at the end to see if you passed or you'd learned to drive. And it's kind of a similar process here. So in the cycle of analysis, we would start by collecting data, we would then analyse those results, we would create and carry out our training programme, and then we would evaluate and retest it to see if we had improved. So today we were focusing on the collecting data part of the cycle of analysis. And to do that, we carried out the Cooper run. So the Cooper run is a 12-minute test in which there's a 400-metre track set up on the playing fields outside. What I asked you to do was to get into pairs, and then you would have one person who is running or carrying out the test, and the other person is an informed observer. So they are there to watch the person that's running and write down their score as and when it happens. There's a couple of factors that we're looking at today, and the important ones for us to remember were CRE and mental toughness. And before I go through a couple of things about the positive and negative parts of that, sorry I won't be able to read that, but I will go over it, just want to say one thing about the recording of it. So there were a number of people who we might not be able to count their score as reliable or valid because it's not an accurate reflection of what they achieved. And it might have been that their informed observer wasn't quite paying attention because there was a couple of people who walked considerably more than others and their scores ended up being similar. So, before we swapped over to the second person, we decided to use the phone to record the second group running. And there's two reasons we did this. The first reason is that it means that this is a permanent record which we can go back and look at and we can see did they actually achieve that. We can also check things like did they go round all the posts. Things like the weather conditions, we did this outside, so we want the weather conditions the next time we do this to be the same, because if we're doing this today in the sun and then next time we do it in the rain, it's not going to be a fair, reliable test. The other reason is so that we can put it in this video here, so hopefully just after I finish speaking now, that video will come up and it will remind you of what it was we were doing on what day. Just having that visual connection might help you to remember some of the points about it. So that should appear now.
Go on, Josh.
Okay, so today we were looking at the CRE and mental toughness factors, and just want to go over a couple of things about how they impact our performance positively and negatively. And we're going to take examples from the run we did today, as well as kind of sports examples from football, and maybe something from swimming as well. So, CRE, if we have good CRE, this enables us to perform for longer at a higher standard. CRE, as we know, is cardio, respiratory, endurance. Cardio meaning heart, respiratory are breathing, endurance, how long that whole system can work for in order to power us or keep us going in our performance. So for example, if we look at swimming, if I was an Olympic swimmer, I might know that some of the people in the blocks beside me are quicker at reacting off the mark, and as a result, they are further into the race or make more distance before I do because they react quicker. However, if my CRE is really good and we're swimming over a long or relatively long distance, then they might begin to tire and fatigue as they begin to their muscles get sore and lactic acid builds up, whereas because my CRE is better, I'm able to keep going for longer, keep my technique really good, because I'm not struggling to actually power the movements. CRE can also affect us negatively. So poor CRE means that we struggle to keep up with the pace of the game. And this can start to affect other factors such as our concentration. So if we're not able to keep up with the pace of the game, it means that as the game goes on, so for example in football, we're not able to make the passes that we used to be able to, because maybe we can't get into the position to receive them, or into the right position and right technique and body movement that's needed to make the next pass. So CRE is massively important, especially to anyone playing a kind of games sport, in the pool, loads of sports where you're required to work for a long period of time. Turning now to look at mental toughness. Like every factor, this can impact us both positively and negatively. So if we've got good mental toughness, this enables us to push through the pain barrier. So for example, today when we're doing the Cooper run, if we're able to push through that pain barrier, it means that we can go for longer. Because if we kind of give up at the first kind of sign of pain and not feeling very comfortable, it's obviously going to have a negative impact on our performance. And taking that example and putting it in football or basketball, again, when things start to get tough, if we don't have good mental toughness, we just give up and we don't perform to the ability or the best of our ability that we might be able to. As well, if we make a mistake in a game and we maybe make the wrong pass, or we choose to shoot and we shouldn't have, and you feel that kind of pressure from the players around you, or maybe fans at the side, that you've maybe made the wrong decision there. If you don't have good mental toughness, we'll look at what that means, but if you do have good mental toughness, you're able to keep going, to not give up with that, to keep playing at that high standard. But the converse of that, or the opposite of that, is that if you have poor mental toughness, this means that you're likely to give up more easily. So if you make a mistake, you might return into your comfort zone. This means that you're not able to play the passes that you might have once been able to, because it's a little bit of extra creativity that's needed, whereas if you're in that comfort zone, you might want to make the easiest pass. The result of that being that if you're making the easiest pass and not always the best pass, this can mean that your team might lack opportunities to get into scoring positions as a result of a lack or a smaller range of passes in which they can make to do that. So, a couple of things to recap. Cooper run today we were doing, 12-minute run. Try and remember the different key points about that, how we would set that up, and what it was for, what was the reason for doing that. And also the two factors, CRE and mental toughness, and try and in your head have a positive and a negative impact for each one. I hope that makes sense to you, and look forward to seeing you on the next video.